Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason, and I'm here to bring us the retrospective for Brunson versus Shahbazyan, and we'll look ahead for Lewis versus Oleinik taking place on Saturday, August 8th. So that card kind of came together a little late. I thought there wasn't going to be a card this week. Turns out there is. It's all crunched up for us. It's ready to go. Let's talk about the past week, though. We didn't have the best night with Brunson versus Shahbazyan coming in at just 2-5. We kind of crapped out on that one. We'll talk about it, though. Let's get into it. Here's the show. Alright, so I was at a party, full disclosure. I was only able to watch the main event. I was not able to watch the other one, so I'll run through these fairly quickly. But like I said, we did not have the best night of fights. We only got 2 right on the evening, and then one of them was a draw, which I'm not really accounting for or against this, but we'll get to that one with the Gutierrez-Durden fight taking place last. So the fight that I did see was Brunson versus Shahbazyan. Shahbazyan did not perform like I thought he was. Brunson looked phenomenal, though. He mixed in great wrestling with his striking. Shahbazyan looked like he didn't have the cardio to compete at a very high level, and I don't know if he was fully prepared to honestly take on that level of Derek Brunson. And, you know, I guess now we'll never know. Hopefully, though, this kid's only 22 years old. This is a learning experience for him. Everybody needs to take a loss sometimes. I guess unless your name's Khabib Nurmagomedov. But everybody needs to take a loss, needs to get their licks generally. And they'll come back better than ever. And I'm expecting that out of Shahbazyan, who's too young of a talent that's looked too good in the past to be written off after taking a loss to a veteran like Brunson. What does this mean for Brunson, though? It means good things. It means that he has an opportunity to go out and maybe stake a claim at the higher echelons of 185. He beat one of the hottest prospects out there, and you got to take your hat off to him. He outstruck him about 2-1. He scored 4 solid takedowns, was able to really do a lot to Shahbazyan we haven't seen anybody do to him thus far. And then we also got to talk about kind of the late stoppage. So I thought the elbowed ground and pound did knock Shahbazyan out briefly at the end of the second round. And, you know, Herb Dean maybe should have waved it off at that point. He didn't. They brought in a doctor to look at him. The doctor didn't wave it off. His corner certainly didn't want to wave it off and throw in the towel. But in the third round, Herb Dean kind of made, redemption and had a really quick hook so that Shahbazyan didn't take too much additional damage. But honestly, I think that his corner or the doctor should have taken him out of there so he didn't have to take any additional damage going into the third round because, honestly, the dude was concussed. He was not with it, and I did not expect him to come back from that. So took a little unnecessary damage, which is rather unfortunate. But it is what it is, and I hope to see Shahbazyan back in the next 6 to 9 months, somewhere in there after his concussion, and get back in there and competing whenever it's healthy to do so. So we'll see how things play out for him. Hats off to Derek Brunson on a fantastic performance, and I look forward to seeing him again in the near future. And I highly doubt he took honestly any damage at all. So we got that one incorrect. Honestly, a lot of these are incorrect. I guess I'll just tell you when we did get it right. Next one, Jennifer Maia defeats Joanne Calderwood. Early on, Calderwood initiates the takedown. Maia is able to take advantage, though. It picks up the armbar and some performance of the night money in her win over Calderwood. So now I guess Maia, instead of Calderwood, will be going up to take on Valentina Shevchenko. We'll see how that plays out. Shevchenko is no joke, and honestly, I, at this point, can't see either woman defeating Shevchenko. I think she's going to reign as 125-pound queen for quite a while. Then we have Vicente Luque defeat Randy Brown. This one I saw the highlight of. Seemed like Brown was doing all right. Scored a takedown. Striking was fairly even up to that point at the end of the second round. But Luque lands a big knee, and he ends up putting down Randy Brown and finishing him off with TKO. With some strikes. So, solid win by Luque. Hard to say how this fight would have gone otherwise if Randy Brown had been able to push the pedal a little bit further into the third round. But he ends up taking a loss, and, Luque is a vet, so it's not that surprising that he was able to capitalize on a small mistake, and dipping his head the way Randy Brown is, and it is what it is. And the next one, Bobby Green defeats Lando Venata. This was fight of the night, but the numbers sort of don't tell the whole story, I guess, because you have Bobby Green outstriking him over 2-1, scoring 3 additional takedowns, and then outworking him on the ground, it seemed. But it must have been a firefight. I unfortunately was not able to see it. But a solid win for Green. I always love picking Venata. His numbers sometimes, I think, overcompensate for his lack of IQ in the octagon. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened in this case, and we pick up a loss. One that we did get correct on the evening, though, Jonathan Martinez makes, I don't know about quick work, but gets a KO via knee in the third round of a freaky Sanchez, and solid victory for him. One of our few wins on the night, and I was happy to make that call. And one that actually flip-flopped on me. So we had Nate Maines defeating his previous opponent. However, he had a late replacement for Johnny Munoz. When I recrutched Munoz, and actually flipped over to him, so I'm going to call this one a loss for us. So, if I ever make changes, I'll always own up to them. I'm not going to take what I said previously just because it makes me look good. Just know that out there. So Nate Maines does pick up a win, and so we end up with a loss after the opponent change. Then in one we also did get correct, the only other one on the night, Jamal Emmers defeats Vince Canchero. So solid win, good striking, 5 takedowns by Emmers, really solid overall. Although, no, I'm not going to say that because I think that's still a little bit of speculation. But I think there might be some, you know what, let's actually look it up real quick and make sure I'm right before I say something. Okay, I was actually incorrect about Jamal Emmers. This story relates to Jamal Hill. So what I read can be confirmed, it seems, through the greater internet search here. But it seems like Tim Elliott and Jamal Hill both tested positive for the use of marijuana back on their fights, which does not affect this card in any way. So I apologize to Jamal Emmers, but I had that name Jamal in my mind, and so it made me think of that story I had read. So that seems to be out there for Elliott and company, but no relation to this current fight card. In fact, I probably should have said that out, but we'll leave it in there for continuity. Anyways, let's move on to the last one. Chris Gutierrez draws with Cody Durden. Very close fight, it seems. Obviously, I was not able to see it, but we were, ended up with a draw, so nobody ended up coming out on top in that one. I actually had Durden because he was a solid plus money pick on the Patreon. Things did not work out, though. Draw, obviously, nobody wins at that point, so kind of disappointing, but it just is what it is. So, like I said, 2-5, 28 base, 29% accuracy rating. Nothing to really write home about. Let's try to move forward, though. Let's try to see how we do with this upcoming card. Let's move on to the Oleinik versus Lewis fight night. All right, so in the main event, we are going to have the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, take on the Boa Constrictor, Alexei Oleinik. And so this is going to be an amazing fight at heavyweight. We have, obviously, all the experience of Oleinik, and we got the heavy hands of Lewis. Now, in this contest, you might be a little surprised, but I'm going to go against the Black Beast in this one. I think Oleinik gets it done. I don't think we're going to have a Lewis, Alexei Konchenko moment where he, knocks him out in the last seconds of the fight. Or, sorry, Alexander Volkov, not Konchenko. Knocks out Volkov to kind of steal a victory. I think Oleinik has the experience, and he has the ability to shut down Derek Lewis. We know the grappling of Oleinik is very good. We know Derek Lewis's grappling is not that good. And as long as Oleinik is able to stay away from the heavy hands of Derek Lewis, I see no reason why he can't pick up a solid victory here, especially if he's able to sat the gas tank. Derek Lewis, it's heavyweights. We can't harp on Lewis too much. He is a big man. Both guys are. But we know Lewis doesn't have the most outstanding gas tank, especially if he gets into a grappling heavy situation. I think Oleinik can take advantage there and use his IQ, his experience, and his, grappling centric fight style to get a victory over Lewis. Now, this is heavyweights though. Obviously, one touch of the glove, and Oleinik can go to sleep against Lewis, and honestly, it could happen either way. I just see Lewis posing the bigger threat with his fists over Oleinik. So we'll see how that one plays out, but I do have Alexei Oleinik, the Boa Constrictor, to pick up a win in the main event. All right, and what should be a very interesting co-main, we are going to have, and this is at middleweight, mind you. Okay, we had Weidman go up to light heavy for a little bit. Now he's back down at middle. We got Omari Akhmedov taking on Chris Weidman here, and so this is kind of an interesting fight here. So Omari, very solid grappling heavy fighter, obviously the All-American Chris Weidman coming in as a very good grappling heavy fighter too, that we've seen have some good hands over the years. But let's let's call a spade here. And I do have Weidman picked, okay? But when it comes to hands and Chris Weidman, I'm just doubtful of his chin. I have Weidman overall. I think he's the better, more well-rounded fighter. I think his body of work says that. Former champion, guy that, ended the Anderson Silva era, if you want to put it that way. And Omari is not the best knockout artist in the world. He's a very solid fighter, but he does use a lot of grappling in his game. And I think based on the body of work, based on the talents of Weidman, based on his 5-inch reach advantage, I think that he's going to be able to stay away from the heavy stuff, fight the kind of fight that he wants, which is going to be wrestling, grappling, good clinch work, and he's going to be able to stay away from the bombs that will touch his chin and put him to sleep. And I got to be honest, if Weidman gets KO'd in this contest, I'm sorry, buddy, but it's time to retire. I'm tired of watching my heroes get knocked around. In fact, let's take a goddamn sidebar to this. Now, nothing against anybody who is on this television show, but I want to talk about NBC's Titans, whatever the heck it's called. I was watching it last night, and I just happened to see Tyron Woodley on there, competing with somebody. Now, the guy he was competing against was a paratrooper, is a paratrooper. He's an elite specimen himself, but, look, you can criticize me for having this opinion, but Tyron Woodley's a pro athlete. He's 170 pound welterweight champion at one point in time, a dominant champion, and he was defeated by a guy that was a paratrooper. And I don't know, I just find it weird to watch a pro athlete go out and get defeated on a TV contest and sort of make a joke of themselves. Tyron Woodley is one of your heroes, and you're watching him get beat up in the octagon. You're watching him get out-athleted, I'll put it that way, out-athleted on a reality TV show, game show, whatever the hell you want to call it, and it's just sad. It's like, dude, just hang it up, man. And the nothing against the paratrooper. I know it comes off as being negative towards the guy that I don't think he could have defeated. No, he was a big guy. He was very strapping. He looked like he could have, definitely, outdone Woodley in kind of maybe physical prowess. But it's just sad. It's like if you watch Pros versus Joes, and like this is going years back. If you watch like one of your heroes out there just get slammed around by some guy that played like D2 ball, and you're watching one of your heroes get destroyed on there. So. It's just a little tough to see. Total goddamn sidebar. But I'm tired of watching Chris Weidman get knocked out at the end of the day is pretty much what it comes down to. So, anyways, I got him picked in this one. Take out a heavy grain of salt. As long as his chin's there, which Lord knows it hasn't, he'll win. But if it isn't, which I'm telling you this now, it's not likely, that his chin is still there, mind you. Omari Medoff will win if he touches him with his hands quite a bit. So we'll see how things play out. Chris Weidman's the pick, though. All right, this next contest is a fire one. We have Maki Pitolo, Coconut Bombs, taking on the dentist Darren Stewart, and this is a really good fight. We got both of these guys throw heavy hands, okay? We got Darren Stewart, who's a 185er. We got Pitolo going up, who's a 170er, up to 185. Maybe it's a weight cut thing, I'm not sure. But Pitolo brings the heat, high output guy, really aggressive style. Darren Stewart throws big hands. He is aggressive himself, and I think he's somebody that could potentially pick up a win over Maki Pitolo, but I am going to go with Pitolo here. Overall, his stats make the most sense to me, but here's the problem. Take a grain of salt. We got this guy going up to 185, a place that Darren Stewart has been fighting for a while, and so the weight cut leaves a lot of uncertainty, and so I don't want to say that this is a surefire lock of the night, in any way, just like we talked about the last fight with Weidman. There's a lot of unanswered factors here. How will he handle his cardio without, going up in weight class? Is it just a weight cut issue? Now maybe he'll perform better. Has he had the best training leading up to this contest? Is that the reason that this fight has to take place a weight class up? There's a lot of unanswered questions there. I'm not sure what it is. The guy won his last outing against Bird, so he seems like he's moving in the right direction as a young prospect. So I don't know. It's just a really tough one to call. I like Maki Pitolo. I've wanted to like him. His fight name is lovable as hell. Coconut Bombs, how can you not? I also like the dentist Darren Stewart. He's a solid fighter as well, and I think that he could definitely pick up a win in this one. It's his division, okay? He's 2 wins in a row, okay? His only last loss was to Shahbazyan, right? But who wasn't losing to that guy at that point? He has wins over Duran Win and wins over Lewis as well. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm still picking Pitolo. he is the pick. Just take it with a grain of salt because he is moving up to 185 pounds. All right, we're going to skip one of the debut fights. We'll do those at the end this time. In the next one, we're going to have Daryush taking on Hot Sauce Shahbazyan. So in this one, it's going to be a great contest, but I got to go with Daryush here. Daryush just looks phenomenal since his win over Moises. Dober, Camacho, and Close. 4 fights in a row, looking to make it 5. And not that we haven't seen great stuff out of Shahbazyan, but I think the caliber of fighter that Holtzman has been getting isn't quite up to the caliber that we've seen Daryush take on over the years. He also has, just this kind of phenomenal fight style. It seems like it's developed ever since he started his win streak. He's been able to take advantage of all of his tools. He's been able to work some of his grappling and his takedowns. He's been able to work his hands to set those up. The guy is looking like a total, complete mixed martial artist lately. He outreaches Shahbazyan by 3 inches. I really like him here. He also has the larger frame. He has the shorter average fight time. He's shutting the door earlier. He's making better use of his tools, and nothing against Hot Sauce. Great fighter, but I think Daryush out-edges him in every category. You can say Holtzman is the better fighter, or is a good fighter. So in this contest, I'm going Daryush. He's the pick in Las Vegas. All right, next one here. Pretty tough fight to call. Tim Means taking on Loreno Poli. So, obviously, Means, huge-time veteran. Poli, relative unknown on the scene. Well, I don't know about unknown. This is coming into his 4th fight in the UFC, but he's definitely down on the cards. You're not really catching him on the main stuff. And in this one, I think that Poli gets it done, but I do have a single metric that is going ahead and picking Means. So, how this one will play out, I'm not exactly sure, but I can see Poli using his flashy kickboxing to take advantage of Means, who's a little more traditional brawling style fighter, and I can see Poli picking up a win there. At the same time, I could definitely see Means using his IQ and his experience in the octagon to sap the gas tank of the younger fighter and move it into his direction. Both these guys coming off of losses, though. Loss to Salikov for Poli and loss to Rodriguez for Means. So it will be interesting. We also know that Poli is really only pushing decisions at this point. He's not really shutting the door all that well. Means does have a pretty short average fight time, and I think that could play a factor if we see Means put his foot on the gas after sapping the gas tank of Poli. But I have Poli as the official pick. He's the one we're going with in Las Vegas. All right, in our next one here, we have Andrew Sanchez taking on Wellington Turman in what should be a pretty solid middleweight matchup. So we have El Dirte, or the Dirty Sanchez, taking on the Prodigy Turman. And in this one, I'm going to go with the Brazilian Turman. I think that he is the better fighter overall. Both these guys match up very well, though, when you look at their ability to have good high output, good solid power punching, and excellent takedowns. We know there's a little more of a submission game, at least so far in the UFC, for Turman, but I think that he's going to be able to overcome Dirty Sanchez here. Sanchez is coming off a loss to Marvin Vettori. Most guys are losing to Marvin Vettori these days, though, and we'll see how things play out. I think it is going to be 2 losses in a row for Sanchez, though. I think the Prodigy Turman is ready to turn it up. He's ready to start a streak after his win over Perez, and he's already recovered from his loss to Roberson. So we'll see how things play out for Turman, but I think he is the better fighter in this matchup. All right, so we have one more at featherweight before we get to the debuters. We have Gavin Governor Tucker taking on Justin's the Guitar Hero Janes, which is sort of an interesting fight name. And in this one, I'm going to go with Janes in this one. We've only seen him fight Camacho. Obviously, his stats are a little bit, let's call him excellently advantaged for Janes in that. But the way he took out Camacho with such poise and made such quick work of him, I think we have to go with the hype train here. We're going to ride Janes. I think he gets a win over Tucker, who's a solid competitor himself over Choi and Cilia with only 1 loss to Glenn in between. I think, though, that Janes is the hotter product, and I think he's going to make a statement in the UFC by picking up a 2-fight win streak and get a win over Tucker. Then we have to look at the debuters. So we got a couple here. We got Yana Kutinskaya taking on Julia Stoliarenko. And that one I have Kutinskaya. Then we have Youssef Zalal taking on Peter Barrett. And then we have Zalal we have Erwin Rivera taking on Ali Kasai. And that one I have Kasai. And then the last one, we have Nasrat Harperquest taking on Alex Munoz, and I have Harperquest in that one to round things out. So to go over them one more time, we have Oleinik, Weidman, Patolo, Daryush, Poli, Turman, Janes, Kutinskaya, Zalal, Casey, or Quasi, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, and then Harperquest to round things out. So, we'll be, hoping we do better than last week going into Saturday here. We did not have our best outing in the last one. I'm really hoping to get closer, over that 50% line. But every once in a while, we're going to bomb out. It does happen on occasion. This is definitely the third or fourth time this has happened to us. But we mostly have come out on top, and we've been doing well, through Abu Dhabi, doing pretty well through Las Vegas so far. And I'm thinking this is just a fluke. So we'll see how things play out. But if you'd like to get in touch with me in the meantime, please reach out to the Fighting Spirit Podcast at fightingspiritpodcast@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with me at MMAFightPicks01 on Twitter. And then there's also the Facebook page and the Patreon with the link down in the description box below if you'd like to support the show at a dollar amount that makes the most sense to you. So let's talk about the upcoming fights, though. We have next week Miocic versus Cormier 3, the trilogy. I see both guys honestly retiring regardless of who wins, and kind of clears the way for Ngannou to get his shot at the crown one more time. That card looks like it's still coming together, though. We just have 5 fights on the card, including the main event. So I've been all over them before, but it's going to be JDS taking on Rosenstruck, Magomed Ankalaev versus Ayan Kudaleba. That's a rehash of a fight that Kudaleba ended up losing due to a kind of weird stoppage, in my opinion. I thought Kudaleba was baiting him into thinking he was injured and then trying to counterpunch him, but hey, is what it is. He looked like he was out on his feet. Then we have Sean O'Malley taking on Marlon Vera, firefight, and then we have John Dodson, Merab Devalivishvili to round things out right now. That card is obviously going to grow. We'll see where things go from there. And then last one here, we have Nurmagomedov versus Gaethje. That's the only fight on UFC 254 at this point, taking place on October 24th. That is one to really, really look forward to. And then I also hear that coming in September, we're going to get the Costa versus Adesanya card. So we'll see how that one plays out. I'm looking forward to that one as well. So that's where we stand right now. We don't have as many upcoming fights as we used to have since these cards are sort of getting crammed together, but things are looking great. We have some nice fights coming up. I'm really looking forward to the Gaethje versus Nurmagomedov card. I mean, I think everybody in the MMA fan community is. That's certainly the number one fight of the year right now that I think we can all agree on. So until I speak with you again next time, though, happy fight picking.